pain can really be your best teacher, but most of us don't let it. We're trying to avoid the pain. We're trying to do all the things to avoid the pain instead of leaning into the pain and letting the pain guide us.
Behind the practice.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Behind the Practice. I'm Katie Brinkley, and today we are sitting down with Lindsay O'Neill O'Keefe, or Lindsay Lou. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to speak today because, man, your list of coolness just keeps going up. Like every time we keep, you open your mouth, I'm like, wait, and you do what now? And you do what now? And so I'm really excited for our conversation today. So thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's start, I guess, kind of back at where I thought today's conversation was going to go with how you got involved in doing PR for the health and wellness space.
Absolutely. So I was never really into PR. I went to FIT. I thought it was going to be this big fashionista. I grew up in New York City, and I just ended up happening to fall into the ad tech and MarTech industry. And I worked in executive capacities for many, many years. Mm-hmm. In 2013, I was an executive for a company that IPO'd. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at home, and I felt like I was at the top of my game. Very successful career, very successful family, everybody was healthy. And then in early 2014, I got pregnant with my 3rd daughter. And in August of 2014, when I was 7 months pregnant, I got hit by a car. Yeah. And that was the pain point of my life that really transitioned me out of this kind of like I was a cog in a wheel. I was just going through life, not really thinking anything about anything, just enjoying my life and enjoying my success. And I took a hard look at what I was doing, and I realized that I had such a greater purpose in this world. I just didn't know what it was at that time.
Got it.
So unfortunately, after that accident, I got really sick. I was dual diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called lupus, which is rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. I was very sick for about 1.5 years, and I, during that time, was thrown into this world of culinary medicine. I went to a program that is combined, put on together for doctors usually, to get continuing ed credits in nutrition, because as we know, doctors get between 1 and 8 hours of nutrition education during their schooling time, during medical school. So I went to this program through the Harvard School of Public Health and the Culinary Institute of America, and I got a certificate in culinary medicine, but really it opened my eyes to so much more than just that. And when I started to heal myself, I would pretty much try anything. If someone said, here, try this supplement, or, try this red light therapy, or do this or do that. And as a typical New Yorker, I'd be like, all right, okay, well, is this really going to work? I don't know. Maybe it's nonsense. Maybe it works. But then my daughter started to get sick. And I don't know if the parents out there feel the same way that I do, but you'll do just about anything for your kids. You'll travel to the ends of the earth and back. And that's essentially what I did. But this time in her healing journey, I took a much harder look at what I was doing for her, because I wanted to make sure that everything was safe, everything was efficacious. And so when I came out on the other end of it, and my daughter, after 6 years of really trying everything and pretty much going crazy and broke because I was so desperate to help her heal, I learned a lot, but I also came out of it thinking someone needs to, figure out what is really truly safe, not just from a clinical perspective, not just from this patient, patient stories and that kind of thing, but also really reviewing the data and the efficacy around, even just infrared sauna.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be detoxing you, but there's a lot of EMFs that are omitted from some infrared saunas, and maybe they use toxic glues and all this other stuff. And we as consumers don't really look into that.
Yeah.
So that there's the safety and the efficacy, and then there's the, okay, well, so what? So you have all this great information, all this data, but if nobody's hearing this data, then it doesn't matter, right? It's like if a bear farts in the woods, can you hear it? No.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided to create this big platform where we publish index reports. It's the Wellness Index from the Biohacking Index. Wellness Index reports every month, and they're distributed to over 1 billion people worldwide. I also write for Forbes, I write for Entrepreneur, I write for Top Doctor Magazine. I have my own podcast where I share all of this information from the brands and also the doctors that are nominating and rating and reviewing all of these companies, because I really just want to get the information out there. There are so many sick and desperate people.
I'm curious.
Even if I can help a handful of them, then that accident that I had with my daughter when I was pregnant is worth it.
I love that story because it's so necessary, and it's heartbreaking that something like that has to happen in order for there to be change like this. But you're out there producing, this index. Billions of people are.
Yeah, it reaches about 1.2 billion people each month.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So why do you think that we're still up against the wall with this mainstream Western medicine and all these other options that people could be looking to get, whether, you said red light therapy or whether it's something else? Why do you think we're still having to fight that battle?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. I would say the first reason is doctors and scientists who are creating these solutions, they're not marketers. They don't know how to market their products. And just like there are non-efficacious and maybe snake oil salesman companies that are out there that are producing crappy products that are potentially harmful for the users of the products, whether it's hyperbaric chambers or even hydrogen water, could potentially be dangerous. I was just talking to Dr. Tyler LeBaron. He was telling me that there have been a lot of cases of people who have had injuries from these hydrogen machines, which is crazy to think of. Like, there's a hydrogen water bottle. There's 50,000 of them on Amazon right now. But these companies that do market themselves are not always the safest and the most efficacious. And so I think consumers are, A, misinformed because there's not a lot of information out there. And then B, they just don't hear from the companies that don't know how to spend their dollars. Instead of in R&D, most of the time they're making sure that they have the best product.
Yeah.
They're not making sure that people know about their product.
Yeah.
So that's something that I wanted to help them with on both sides of the coin. And then also the third, my daughter, the one that I was in the accident with, so the way that I got into this whole industry, I found this incredible stack technology called the Immortal Chamber, AMMORTAL. And 3 years ago, I flew my daughter down to Florida, and I basically threw her in this spaceship-looking thing in the back of an Airstream. And this device has photobiomodulation, so red light therapy. It has near and infrared light. It has guided meditation, breath work, sound bath. It had pulse electromagnetic frequency and a cannula with molecular hydrogen in your nose. She came out of a 30-minute session, and the first thing she said to me was, "Mom, I realized I'm not supposed to be the sick kid anymore. It's not serving me." And I'm like, "You're 8. Who says that at 8 years old?" And I'm like, "Well, how has it been serving you to be sick?" And she's like, "Well, I get out of school early. I get to hang out with you. I get ice cream. I get toys." And I'm thinking, wow, I'm really a crappy mom. I've been keeping my kid sick by giving her all of this wonderful stuff. But she was the one that realized, I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to go through my life. She's 8 years old. I want to spend the rest of my life serving others and helping others. Pain can really be your best teacher, but most of us don't let it. We're trying to avoid the pain. We're trying to do all the things to avoid the pain instead of leaning into the pain and letting the pain guide us. Pain is really a blessing.
Yeah.
And it's transformational if we take that lesson and we make that transition from being the victim, being sick, take responsibility for our own health, because at the end of the day, I could give you all of the data, doctors could guide you, you could do your own research, you could try every wellness solution on the planet, But if you're not listening to your own intuitive guidance, then you're just going to be lost in the sauce forever.
So it's quite.
So you mentioned that there's so many options out there. And as consumers, it's really hard for us to know what we can trust and what we can't trust. Is this a legit company that has the tools to help us, or is this just a company with good marketing?
Right.
So what is your qualifications to help consumers know who they can trust?
So we don't actually just pick companies out of thin air. We have a huge panel through our partners of over 100,000 experts. So these are doctors, these are clinic owners, these are wellness center owners, med spa owners, and they are in clinical practice every single day, day in, day out, using these solutions for their patients. So they're the ones that actually nominate the different solutions on the Biohacking Index, and then they go through, those brands go through a 4-step process in order to get indexed. We look at consumer reviews. We obviously look at our panel of amazing experts who are rating and reviewing all of these technologies as well, and solutions, anything from supplements all the way up through, $250,000 cryotherapy machines and everything in between. And honestly,
Yeah.
we have a long way to go. We just launched this platform about 6 months ago, and there are tens of thousands of wellness solutions out there. We have a little over 1,200 on the index right now.
Wow. No, you mentioned earlier about how you went to CIA, but not that CIA,
Yeah.
the Culinary Institute of America.
I'm not-
But yeah, not that type of CIA. So why do you think that so many medical doctors aren't getting the education in nutrition that they should? Because nutrition is such an important part of being healthy.
Well, it depends. Do you want to drive a Ferrari or you want to drive a Pinto? The fuel that you put into your vehicle is how your vehicle operates.
Right. Did you know?
But if I'm being honest and answering your question and not trying to skirt the question, I think that, our food systems are just broken. And I think they could potentially be intentionally broken. Because there is a huge industry in our country, and it would fail and it would go out of business if we all just ate better.
Tell us.
And you're a lambassador
Yes.
for the country of Australia. So talk to us a little bit about that, because stick with me, folks, on this, because I want to talk about your being a lambassador, then follow up with my next question.
Okay. So the Meat and Livestock Association of Australia, they have the country of Australia has incredible farming practices. They are projected to potentially be carbon neutral in their farming by 2030, which is only 4 years away.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. They have more cows and more sheep than humans in Australia, and they're all, the grass-fed, grass-finished. They grade every cut of every cow, so not just the whole cow like we do with USDA rules and regulations. And then it's wet aged and shipped over here from Australia on a ship. Takes about 3 weeks. So you have just a great flavor profile. It doesn't feel like it's dry or missing all of that great marbling that you get from like corn-fed animals. So anyway, I love Australian beef and lamb, and I love cooking for them. And they asked me, I was a demo chef for a couple of grill companies. I love being a grill master, and I interviewed a bunch of female grill masters throughout my early career as a kind of like a content marketer. But when Aussie Beef and Lamb came to me and asked me to start creating content for them in 2018, it was not just let me see how. It was, I love beef and lamb, and I've learned so much about Australia, and I just love the people, and I love the food, and it's one of the most fun things that I do. And I wish I could do it full time, but
Well, I love the term lambassador, so I had to make sure I got that into this
yeah,
podcast.
lambassador, Aussie beef mate.
Yeah, Aussie beef mate, yeah.
I should have that on all of my
Right,
badges.
you should. So with that, and you were talking about grass-fed, you were talking about, there might not be quite as much marbling, but why do you think that United States of America is so adamant about keeping our, we know that the food is overprocessed. We know that there's additives in there that probably shouldn't be in there. Why do you think that they're continuing to keep these toxins in our foods as opposed to other countries are able to still feed their countries and take care of their citizens without shoving them full of additives?
Well, I mean, just look at our cereal, right? So the cereal is manufactured, let's just pick a company, Kellogg's, right? So Kellogg's manufactures cereal for the U.S.
Oh my God.
and they cannot use the same ingredients for the same exact cereal in Europe as they do here. And that's changing, thanks to RFK.
Yep.
He's putting a lot of new guidelines into place, which is amazing. But we're addicted to it.
Yeah.
As a population, we are junkies for Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, for McDonald's. I mean, I had a friend who got a Happy Meal from McDonald's, put it under a glass dome, and kept it there for 6 years, and it didn't mold.
That's insane.
A burger, French fries, and chicken nuggets, which are pink slime.
Chips hot.
I don't know why anyone, once you have this knowledge, would continue to eat this crap. Honestly, I have no idea. But we're so addicted. And there was a study that was done in mice, which is, terrible, but they gave mice crack over and over again, right? Super addictive.
Yeah.
Crack cocaine, right?
Hear that.
And then they gave the mice sugar. And then they gave the mice a choice between crack and sugar. What do you think it chose?
Well, I was going to say crack, but now I feel like you're trying to trick me.
I am. It's sugar. Sugar is the most addictive thing on the planet. And we are pumping our children full of sugar. And so by the time they're adults, what happens? You can't take away the crack from a child. What will happen? Their whole body will shut down if they don't have the thing that has been sustaining their life for forever.
Yeah. It's
I do that.
so what's the answer?
We have to slowly make a shift. So the first company that I started was called Small Hinges because I believe that small hinges swing the big door of positive change. And you don't have to change everything to have a positive change in your life. You just have to make those small strategic changes slowly over time. And I think that's what needs to happen in our country. I don't think you can change everything overnight because I think that people would really freak out. And there might be a real uptick in crime if we took sugar away.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. Well, Lindsay, this has been an absolutely incredible conversation. And if people are interested in learning more about you, checking out your podcast, learning more about your index, tell us all the ways that we can learn more about you.
So I think the best way is to go to lindsaylou.com. It's got every link to every project that I'm working on right now. It even has a link to my new book. It's actually a cookbook. It has 11 recipes, but it's really about faith, family, and food for foundational health. There's not only recipes, there's stories about my family, my new husband, who's a Lou also. He's a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department, my 4 daughters, and all of their favorite foods. And then it also has some journal entries, prayers, meditation, Bible verses, so that you can really biohack breakfast, which is what the title of the book is.
I love it. Well, Lindsay, thank you again so much for joining me on Behind the Practice.
Thank you, Katie.
Behind the Practice is produced by Next Step Social and Podcasting and hosted by Katie Brinkley and Sean Quintero. A special thank you to our guests today. This episode was recorded live at the Boston BioLife Functional Longevity Summit. A special thank you to the team that helped make this podcast happen.